So
All
instead of
right.
how you been, bro, it's how are you doing right now after all that?
Yeah.
Let's
God bless.
take four.
Yeah, take four. Take four. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Just first real technical difficulties,
Yeah.
Blaze has been troubleshooting the last
Yeah,
30,
sorry.
40 minutes.
My computer like just decided that it was going to be really slow, so I had to restart it. Oh, first off, episode caveat, we had to hit this on the head. Um, a wise woman, one of my good friends, Kayla Ball, shout out to Black True Crime Podcast, and her and her sister Kristen run that. She was telling me that it's probably going to be beneficial for us to just paint the picture that we are experts on nothing. So we may talk about
I
mental
wasn't sure where
health,
you were going with that.
mental health, or something of that nature. But just be aware that we know nothing about anything. So if you take any of our advice, please don't sue us. That's all I
Right.
just want to
I hear
say
you. Good
off the cuff.
disclaimer.
Just let them know. Just let them
It's a
know
one
right
and done,
away.
right? Not this episode. We want to let you know that we are not special.
Right. All right. Well, at least we can get right into it. Go ahead, man.
Oh yeah, how you been, bro?
Man, I've been good. I want to let you know that today I was supposed to fly down to your kinfolk town down there in LA.
Oh, for real?
And it's funny, I hung out with a guy this past week. Sorry, we'll back up. I went down for simulator training for our plane down in Dallas. And when I was down there, I hung out with a couple guys that one guy who's the current president of UPS in that region. The other
Oh
guy
shit.
used to be really high up in UPS corporate, and unfortunately I only got to play golf with one of them over the weekend. But on Monday, as in today, the 22nd, the president is going to a wedding in Santa Barbara. So I
Hmm.
texted him, and ironically enough, we were supposed to fly right past Santa Barbara Yacht Club where they're getting married today. So I told him when I got into work, I was like, hey, I'll do a sweet flyover for you guys, blah, blah, blah. And I like
That's
totally,
what's up.
totally hyped it up for us, right?
Oh
And I
shit.
get to
And then
work, and then lo and behold, like our plane availability is not there. We like one of them wasn't working. We tried to get another one to work and it wasn't working. So we ended up canceling the flight. So I feel so bad that
well,
I
you know
like.
what? I'll tell you this. If I was your dispatcher, I would have made it happen.
That's right. That's right. Alex would have found a plane for us.
Yeah.
Would have worked out a
Damn,
lot.
what a bummer, dude.
But yeah, anyway, like so went down to Dallas for P course, they call it, which is our proficiency course in the plane. Was down there for a couple of days, and then flew back on Friday. Got in, hung out the weekend, and now back at it. Back at it on Monday. Supposed to fly, like I said, tonight, but tomorrow we'll be back at work. So nice little time away.
Right.
Been doing a lot of traveling kind of since the wedding, even just been super busy.
Right.
But, back to the quick little, I got something in the mail.
Oh
Shout
shit,
out to
this
my
is important.
boy,
Uh,
Leo
I'll
Lewinsky.
I'll blur out
So,
your address. I
yeah,
got
yeah,
you.
yeah. Blur it out. Blur it out. Sorry, I probably shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
But opening
Shit.
up the tees, Chelsea and I, because we got the hookup, are just gonna be sporting these bad boys. But make sure that everybody, that's the small, that's got to be Chelsea's.
Dude,
This is the baby size.
what
But
a
we got
plug.
it. We got it out. So shout out to Will,
Hell yeah.
the man.
Well,
But what
hey,
about
next episode, I'll wear mine, you wear yours.
nice? Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
got
We'll
the
twin. We'll
did you
twin
I
for
got
sure.
black. What did you get?
It's like a gray.
Oh, you got same as that?
Yeah, it's like
You guys got
yeah.
the
Oh yeah,
matching
they're both the same. They're both
for
the
sure,
same.
for sure. All right, cool. We'll mix it up.
Oh, it'll be good.
That means Nick, me, I know Kevin, my brother, you, Chelsea, and then Will left something for Jackson. So he's gonna have about a dozen people walking around. I
Look
mean,
at that.
that's pretty cool.
Promoting for him.
Hell yeah. Everybody else, put them on right now. Leo Lewinsky, I think it's Will the Futurist, still on Instagram.
That's right.
You gotta not confuse us. What if I gave him the wrong plug? I'm not even gonna check. Whatever. Hell
Oh
yeah, that's pretty
man.
dope though. Fresh
Well,
out the
cool.
mail.
So it's funny because we just posted episode 2 today, and I listened to it on my way to work, and we left the people with a bit of a cliffhanger about our artwork woes. So I just wanted to circle back to that
Oh no.
before we get too
It
far
took
down
me
the
a second
rabbit
to figure.
hole. Before we get too far down the rabbit hole, I
Yeah.
just want to circle back and we can explain kind of what happened, and then we can kind of get into like what else is going on, and then a couple other topics that I thought we could hit up.
Is that the new strategy? I always end it with the next story so they keep coming
Maybe,
back.
yeah, maybe
Yeah.
that's a great way
Oh
to
wait, 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 wait.
yeah.
Shit.
So go
Okay,
ahead,
so let's do
talk
this.
about our artwork woes.
So me and Blaze, one thing I'm just gonna take advantage of this is we talk about sayers and doers, right? I remember me and Blaise both had the idea that we re-listen to like 1 and 2 and figure out anything that we never finished, like thoughts on. And for Blaise, I had said, anybody says they can start a podcast, and then it was crazy because within days, Blaise pulled the trigger on hundreds of dollars worth of equipment. I don't think we ever said that. So it was cool that you were dedicated to the pod. So as soon as he was, that kind of got me really excited about how you've been, bro, and brainstorming and figuring out what we could do. So when it came to podcast art, this is the embarrassing story. I don't know why the hell I didn't go through Dan. I haven't talked to Dan in forever, since Fireflight died. I went through Fiverr. Okay, I dead ass went through Fiverr to find like a graphic designer.
Can you explain what Fiverr is? Because me from a space that's not around has no idea what Fiverr is.
Okay,
So
my
just
fault.
explain.
Fiverr is it's a freelance platform. You can go on Fiverr, look up what you want people to do for you, custom stuff. People can like sell beats on there. People can do artwork, logo design. I'm pretty sure pretty much anything you want custom. There's just people out there selling their expertise or whatever. So I went to Fiverr, went to podcast art as like the query, and plenty of people are selling it. And I picked the top seller, right? So I'm like, I found this cool little clip art. And one thing also, if you do listen to the episodes, if you follow us on Instagram, normally anything that we have that's relevant that we talk about, since these videos that I put together, I just clip anything that, like, if me and Blaise are super choppy, or like I try to clean it up the best I can. But you notice we don't have effects, we don't have things going on during this. This is literally just a Zoom call being recorded. So instead of me editing in content, I just want to post like a collage. So I will post this horrible art. I'll put it up so you guys can see. It is on. I was like sick to my stomach because I'm over here like Blaise. Blaise had no creative input. I didn't even ask. I was like trying to impress him. I was like, bro, like, I found an artwork, like lead, and then Blaise immediately sends me money, bro. We fucking spent $120, $60 each. And when I saw it, I'm gonna tell you, I was so embarrassed. I was like, okay, two guys sitting across from each other in like in a room, like podcast type setting. The inspo that I gave him was kind of a cartoon like. I didn't really want that. I was trying to get at something else, but he just ran with it. I said, oh, and maybe you could put like a line down the middle so like it separates me and Blaise, and like my side could be a little spooky, and I could have like a bird, or I could have like what else did I say? I said, why so grim in the back somewhere. I said on Blaise's side, he's a pilot, so like what if you put like a hat, or like for Coast Guard, I said, what if you put like the cap on? I said like his is like the more gentleman's office vibe. I had this creative masterpiece in my head, and it was just absolutely insane what he sent back to me. And thank God I went through Dan after, so we could just leave it at that. But once you see it, you'll have real context of how horrible this artwork is.
So there's another shout out for Dan. Dan, we
Right,
appreciate
Dan.
you. We
Thank
said
you,
it
Dan.
in the last episode as well, but I just want to reiterate how thankful we are for you
Man,
coming through.
simple, clean. Yeah, man. But thank you, Blaise, for following up on that.
Yeah,
That was
you're
good.
welcome. Yeah, I think it's something that we need to be better about, because I think even when I listened to episode 1, I was thinking to myself, we we left Easter eggs in like all the entire
True.
episode, but we haven't come back to any. So I just want to start. We're not going to do it in one because there's way too many. So
Yeah,
hopefully from here on out we can listen and then push forward and see what we can kind of come back to.
for sure. No, absolutely.
But what's
But
good with
yeah,
you? You want to update me on what you've been up to?
well, work's been a little bit challenging. I actually was thinking, how much am I willing to share about like my work, because it's like I'm not trying to talk shit, but it's been showing like difficult situations. If anything, it makes me kind of want to step up, because I got hired on as an assistant to two different people, literally for two different companies. The owner is an entrepreneur that owns a boating company, a concierge company, coffee shop, opening like a bar soon, just bought a distillery in Oahu. Like he's a go. Like he thinks the time's now, so he's like going ham buying stuff. So he hired me to be an assistant to his HR rep, and then to his new acquired concierge company, I'm the assistant to the general manager. So I literally work for two different companies, and I have, like, I'm the guy in the same room, but everybody's changing, so like I know too much, and then I don't know anything, the whole jack of all trades, master of none type. I have like really big projects on both sides, for a concierge to book any type of vendor, if you go to a hotel, go to the concierge department, say, hey, I want to book a boat ride. Well, that company needs to be additionally insured on that vendor's insurance. So the COI is the certificate of insurance. So our company, the concierge company, needs to be additionally insured. And I need proof of that. And we have 400 vendors in the concierge database. And I need to make sure I run a report to find expired insurances. And that's just one example of like this monster project from like even just being organized. Like, did I email the vendor? Did I receive it? If I did I upload it into Dropbox? If I did that, did I update the expiration date in the system the concierges use so that they can't not book it? So like, that's just one example of this monster. And I'm learning payroll for 3 or 4 of the companies that he has. So it's just been super overwhelming, and I'm trying to run with it. But I guess the update with work is just I need to be self-sufficient, So if you don't have support, I need to prove that I am still that guy. Because what if you just fire somebody else that can deal with not having the support,
Well, it seems, and from an outsider's perspective looking in, it seems like every time I've listened to you talk about work, that you got into a job that had no job description at all. Like
That
you're
seems to be the case.
creating the job description. So in the military, it's interesting because technically, I guess, entered the Coast Guard in 2013, went to the Coast Guard Academy, but it's essentially college. But even then until now, as a pilot, every single job you go to has like really strict job description. They're like, hey, you're doing
Oh,
this job, you're in charge of these
beautiful.
people, you're doing these types of things, you have these timelines you need to meet, blah, blah, blah. It's very, very scripted and organized. And anybody else in the military space, in most cases, will tell you that it's similar. And it's very interesting listening to you in this space where you have two bosses, but kind of one boss and kind of an owner that's over them. And then you have to navigate a space where there's no job description written for you. You have to figure out
Correct.
who you work for, when they can take your time. Because you talked to me before about kind of being pulled in two different directions. You have
Correct.
one day where you should be backing up one boss, another day where you're backing up another boss. So it's very interesting to me that you're writing the script for the position to a degree. So
Right.
you're kind of finding the defining points. You're figuring out what each boss needs and eventually to make the company successful. So
Right.
very interesting for me listening because I've never dealt with anything like
That's
that.
good. I mean, yeah, you're coming from a different place. Yeah, that's very interesting. And I'm jealous of that, that you can imagine how do I feel like I did the job well done, There is no the bar's not been set,
Right.
So it's like if I'm self-sufficient, like yeah, I'm getting things checked off, but it's one of those where it's like everything is so important and nothing matters at the same time because there's just so much work to be done. So work's been stressful. And I appreciate you asking because I was thinking I literally have like 4 calendars right now. There's the boating company, there's the concierge company, because when it comes to payroll and like pre-payroll, like it's based off of biweekly, like I have meetings every Tuesday, like understanding like where I'm at, that's just work stuff. And then it's like my personal life, like I was saying, I don't want to talk too much about the why so grim thing, but like think about the concept of like posting a video, work backwards. Posting a video is the last step. Before that's editing it, before that's recording it, before that is scripting it, before that is watching it. Like there's a lot that goes into like scripting something, especially if it's like in a review. So working that calendar with all my other calendars was like I'm learning in my job that if I'm willing to do these things for him, why would I not do that for myself? You know, because he's putting me in a position where I'm honestly growing and I'm having to figure it out. Like for me with my business, like I'm intimidated to call the tax man and talk about stuff that I don't know what I'm talking about. But working for this guy, I'm willing to call random companies saying, hey, can I get the COI? Some random front desk person's like, what's that? I'm like, is there anybody in accounting or payroll that I could talk to? Okay, sure. Like just the whole idea of like not being afraid to sound dumb. Like that's helped me a lot is that I want the tools I need to succeed and I don't have them. So I have to figure it out. But if I'm not in the right headspace, that's just overwhelming. You know what I mean? Like it's like this dramatic back and forth. Like I don't want to pick up the phone or I'm going to pick up the phone because no matter what, this is my way of figuring it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it seems like you're having to figure that out. And for all the people listening, or like I've been saying, lack thereof people listening. Oh,
Right.
we could talk about that in a second too. We'll earmark that.
Okay.
But Alex is an incredibly organized planner. So Alex, if it goes his way, I'm under the impression that you could plan out like your whole day from the date time you wake up to the time you go to sleep for a week, and you would be super, super happy about it. You'd be like, all right, from 7 to 8, I'm going to do this. From
Right.
8 to 9, I'm going to do this. Here's a little white space for me to take a shit. Here's like this next
Right.
space for me
Account for
to
it.
go. And yeah, exactly. And I think that you would do that if you could. So it's funny that to me that I'm imagining like a Google calendar that's got all these different colors on it. And is,
Right.
red is work, blue is personal stuff, white is time with Jasmine. And I'm just picturing this like
Right.
collage of all these things going together. And as far as coming back to that bookmark, we saw, and you correct me if I'm wrong because you probably saw the statistics more recently, but
Mm.
episode 1 we saw 120
122 in 8 days.
122 people listened, which to me is crazy. I had
Dude, from
no
like, yeah,
left field
who's gonna
for
listen, right?
sure,
Yeah.
from left field.
Hell yeah.
So to those who have, thank you. For
Absolutely.
those who haven't yet or are thinking about it, come on the journey. And again, I still feel this way, and I'm not sure if you do too, but for me, it's still therapeutic for me to talk to you about the hard topics, about catching up. So if we get no other people to listen from here on out, that's totally cool with me too. So
Right. No, that's a good plug right there. Right. For sure. For sure. Okay. Really quick. So this is something I wanted to touch on too. So this concept of like feeling dumb by not knowing something, like that's something that I've struggled with so much. And I feel like a lot of people, there's memes and stuff about our generations, like two words, like pick up the phone and call somebody, you know? And I texted you this and I really want to touch on it because I just want to talk good about my dad, man. And like, so Jasmine's trying to get into school right now. Okay. And I'm just going to put her situation out there. She did everything she said she was going to do, but unfortunately, by her waiting till after the wedding, because she was so busy, she's late for registration to get into the school. So she's going through it right now, like Lord willing, she's going to get into the school. Everything's going to be fine. The program starts next year, next spring. So she's trying to get in now, get the prerequisites done. And it was just such this cool moment for me and her, where like I was laying in bed and then she came and laid down next to me. And I don't know about you and Chelsea, but like Jackson's a crier, like once a month she needs like a really good one, like she just, I can see it in her eyes. I just say, come here, like, what's up? And like let her do her thing. And she feels good after. But she was just sitting there, she was crying because she felt frustrated, but I was like, I fucked up when it came to helping with wedding planning. She did so much, so like she did everything she said she was going to do. But again, her waiting too long, she's now having to deal with like a late application. And all of this, the point is, I sat in bed watching her cry, and I was like, I'll call for you for tomorrow. Like I'll call UHMC and I'll figure it out. So like me doing that for her and seeing her look at me like, damn, thank you, I feel like that was one of the moments where like she could have picked up the phone, but she didn't. And normally I wouldn't, but because I wanted to help her, I just felt so good in the morning. And I texted my dad and I told him, I was like, I had newfound appreciation for him because, as an 18-year-old, you look at your parents sometimes, again, everybody's different, but look at your parents for like help, and it's like he was willing to pick up the phone and call at college to get answers to questions he didn't know the answer either, So it's like not feeling dumb for not knowing stuff. You know what I mean? Like he was just as capable as I was. So I felt like I had a dad moment, where I like went out of my way to make a phone call that I didn't have to, right? Like she could have done it. My dad couldn't have helped. He didn't have to help me with college stuff. I could have called, but he was just willing to do it, and to learn from it. So that was something kind of fun that I hope that I can keep doing, not being afraid to not know the answer.
it's funny because in my line of work, I talked about it before, everything has a job description, but
Mm,
that doesn't mean that the job description is written super well. So you might be in charge of a bunch of different people, or even in my personal life, I find that if you ask the dumb question about how a process is or how something else is, it seems that you may bring to light that there isn't something written about it, or you may be able to improve something. So I've got no issue asking the dumb question or being the guy in
mm-hmm.
the room that's asking a dumb question. And thankfully, maybe I was blessed from being a young age of not really caring about being that guy that asked that question. But at the end of the day, you probably affect other people in a way, in a positive light, because you're building understanding, you're building clarity. And I always tell people, explain it to me like you're talking to a 5-year-old.
Mm,
If a 5-year-old can understand what you're saying and you can break something down, those are the best teachers or educators in that way. Those are the best mentors, leaders. I think the people that can break it down to a foundational level so that you're not blowing somebody away with vocabulary and words that you can't understand. You're just being clear and concise, and you're able to frame that up for somebody, I think really helps tee them up for success. And, really you're just helping yourself out too, especially if you're a manager, if you're a worker, there's just so much clarity that's built around that. So I try and bring that into my daily life, whether it's relationship with Chelsea, whether it's work, whether it's friendships. I think it's just super important. So I am glad that you brought that up, and kind of, doing stuff for other people feels good, man. At the end of the day,
right.
like if you take something off of somebody else's plate and it has a positive effect on them, there's something to be said about you taking time doing something totally for somebody else and then them appreciating it and giving you positive feedback in that way, whether it's a smile, whether it's they do something else for you. It's just what goes around comes around, and you start to kind of feel that in your daily life when you start to do those things. So I'm a
For
huge fan
sure.
of it too.
Well, it's cool. Yeah, you're in a leadership position. So it's kind of cool, I guess, to think that, yeah, you're hearing this from the other side. Is that if when I worked at the Marriott, shit, I feel like it's so funny. I want to talk to you like I'm just talking to you, but then I don't want to like sound like I'm talking good about myself. You know what I mean? Like if people are listening. But I just want to tell you, like when I was at the Marriott, the the new hire binder was shit. It was like absolute trash, and it was like a lot of irrelevant information, a lot of confusing stuff. So I took the initiative to like help rewrite the new hire binder. And I had coworkers who looked at me like, why the fuck are you doing this? This is the manager's job, blah, blah, blah. And it was interesting that, they were wondering why I was doing it, but it felt good. And learning something, dumbing it down, rewriting it for the next person to have it better than you. That's kind of like what this new job is again, is that what I'm learning is in a notebook. That chicken scratch needs to go somewhere in a binder and be like, hey, the next Alex that comes in here, like, I hate that I don't have what I need. That's what I was kind of getting at, is that everything that I'm learning, I'm going to have to do. Nobody has the time for it. And as a young person too, I mean, I've worked a decent amount of jobs, and everybody's busy, getting the time to like, complain about turnover. Hey, it's hard to keep people. It's like, okay, yeah, well, what do you have when they come in? They have nothing, like it's a really interesting thing. We don't have time, like really hire people, hire good quality people, hire randoms. They don't have what they need. They leave. I wonder what happened. Like, it's really interesting how that is kind of missed.
Yeah, you have to invest in the process of the hiring, or the first couple of weeks, I think, are incredibly important. And you talked about it too. Turnover, that is like the military's buzzword. They're like, oh, we have so much turnover this summer, or we have
Oh,
XYZ
really
happen,
interesting.
so that we have those exact type of issues where I actually change what they call collateral duty. So I'm a pilot, but on the side, you do what's called a collateral duty. So I worked for facilities engineering for the first year and a half, and now I'm working for aviation engineering. And when I went into both jobs, there's no like binder for either of them that says, here's your jobs, here's what you can expect on a day to day, here's the random things that I've had to do, and here's a process as to how to get stuff done and who you need to talk to. So none of those things happened. So when I was working in facilities engineering for that year and a half, I did a bunch of contract work, and government contracting. Let me tell you, I hate to use this, I guess, when I'm talking about it, but it's a fucking mess. It is like, it's terrible. Nobody knows who to call. Nobody knows who to talk to. There's funding thresholds that you have to make sure that you're meeting, whether you're above, below is going to dictate how many approval chains it takes for you to get the stuff that you need to succeed. So because of that, I made just like this super basic little flow chart in the same way that you did, where it's like something breaks is step one.
Yeah,
Step
right.
two, how
Honestly,
much, how much is it, or you're getting a quote, how much is it to fix? And then step three is, okay, if it's above this much, you got to talk to this person. If it's below this much, you can buy it yourself. If it's middle, you got to do the XYZ. So I
interesting.
broke it down just like you said, like you have to do it for somebody else coming in who doesn't know anything. So if you're
That's the
able to
challenge
make,
of this episode is if you're in a job and you don't have what you need, learn what you need, write it down, and leave it for the next guy.
yeah, perfect. I love that. I love
Yeah,
that.
let's go. Really quick though, I feel like this is a great opportunity to talk about the boating company. So it's kind of cool. I've talked to Blaise about this. Is that I have to work with the Coast Guard because we have a boating company, and the crew, the captains, the crews, they need their licenses, their permits, food handler cards, liquor cards. Like the Coast Guard is regimented, right? Like these things that all these boating companies out here in Maui. If you're gonna go on a sunset sail, if you're gonna go on a snorkel cruise, like the people that are taking care of you, they have to be drug tested, they have to take random drug tests, they have first aid, CPR, AED, all these different certifications, right? So it's been kind of fun. And just because I want to vent a little more, the other monster project, not on the concierge side but on the boating side, is that I have to get all of the certifications, photos, or PDFs or anything of all of the captain and crew. So I've been like messaging them, trying to get it from them, getting that information, save it, name it, upload it into Dropbox. Then we have an HR database for the boating company that's not yet integrated with the new acquired concierge company. But we have a database where I, with my boss, had to set parameters and say, hey, if we get all that information, we can plug it into the database and then create reminders for 90, 60, 30-day expiration dates. But this is just this monster project, like, again, that's the COI monster project, the certifications project. Like, these are just these two things, and getting organized. Who did I text? Did I double text them? Like, at what point do I need to tell the ops manager to help me? Like, it's been this monster, man. So again, that was me kind of venting a little bit, but I'm in a startup, but I'm not, like you said, if something bad happens, call this number. An onboarding process. Okay, interviewer interviews Blaise. Blaise is a new candidate. Okay, is he hired? He needs to get pre-employment drug test. Okay, who's going to schedule that? Our HR database does. I'm onboarding you. I need your first name, last name, email, phone number. You give me that information. We onboard you after we get your negative drug test, because if you're positive, you can't work with us. If you test positive, you get in a U.S. Coast Guard database and you can't work for a boating company or something. Like, I forget exactly what you're like automatically registered though. So it's like, do not take a drug test, because if you're going to fuck it up, it'll cost up to $10,000 to undo the damage you did on your record. So everything you're saying, right? The onboarding process. If somebody's hired this person, who's going to give them the keys? Who's going to get their documents? Who's going to, like, from an operational standpoint, you need these things. And like a lot of places don't, so that's very, very interesting to think that even the military would, I guess that's just an assumption on my end.
Yeah,
I
man.
don't
No,
know.
we struggle with it too, for sure. All right, not to get too crazy topic jumping, but I had a couple of things that I want to
Oh
talk to
yeah,
you about
no, it's
today
a great
too.
time. Great time to change it. Yep.
So I listened to a podcast with Dax Shepard. Shout out to Armchair Expert. I think I've talked about it before on here, maybe in the first one.
Mm-hmm.
He had on Malcolm Gladwell, who's a journalist, kind of freelance guy, and he's an incredibly interesting cat. And he talked about two kind of topics that I wanted to touch on with you and kind of get your feedback on. So the first one has to do with keeping an open mind. He talks a lot in the episode about conflict resolution in that space. He talks a lot about the conflict resolution space in the keeping an open mind. And to me, it's very interesting being in my position at work and even at home. Actually, even relationship is probably even more so, where you're having an argument. For example, like Chelsea hates when I leave my backpack on the couch. She like looks at me and is like what? She
Damn,
gives me
and
she gives
she
me
gets
like,
mad when you don't close the drawers.
whoa,
Damn,
whoa.
bro.
Yeah, I know. Those are things that
Some
I
pet peeves.
do. I almost do it. I'm not doing it on purpose by any means. I just like get back and my mind is already taking a whole different direction of I'm shifting from flight and Coast Guard to personal training or coaching. And then I've got to do XYZ before I go to sleep to kind of rinse, wash, repeat. So it's not for any other reason other than my mind is just wandering.
Mm.
And we talked about it the other day where she said, I really just don't appreciate when you do that. And for me, immediately that I go into that, defensive mode, what I think a lot of people do when they're accused of doing XYZ or someone is like, quote unquote, nagging them, which I don't think she was doing. But it's interesting to think, it's taking a step back and keep an open mind. So even though it's a thought, a feeling, an emotion, or something that you haven't heard before, or maybe you think you've heard before, just taking a real look at the wide range of possibilities of somebody coming to you and thinking outside of the box, finding a new way to solve a problem, or just somebody doing something as so simple as like, hey, can you like leave your backpack off the couch and put it somewhere else? So
Right.
today when I came home, I was thinking to myself, because Chelsea was out shopping right before we got on the podcast. She was like, gone for a couple hours or whatever. So I get home and I'm like thinking to myself as she comes back, if I'm going to be podcasting, how can I leave the house in a better order so that when she gets back, she's not going to walk in and immediately take her mood from up here to where she got a bunch of stuff done today to down here because I decided to leave cabinets open or my backpack on the couch. And it's something that sounds so small, but it definitely sets the tone for the day or the evening or whatever by you doing that. So that might be a small example and you may have a better one for keeping an open mind, but that was the first kind of topic that I wanted to touch on and then see kind of what you thought.
Oh no, I think that's awesome. And it was funny. I was like thinking about being annoying, you know. So first thing, right? Step one, you walk in the door. What do you do? Step two, don't put your bag on the couch. I could type that up, Microsoft. You can put it on the door to help you, bro. We got you. Get the
See,
binder
that's your
going.
planning. That's you being a
Get the
planner right
binder
there.
going,
That's
right?
why.
Okay. Well, you wanna, I'll make fun of myself. In my calendar on Wednesdays and Sundays, I put take trash out. I did. Like I did it. And like the best part is I said it in my vows. I literally in my vows said I will take the trash out to Wednesdays and
I
Sundays
do
without having to
remember you
ask.
saying that. I do
So
remember.
because I did that, I'm like, dude, I cannot fuck that up. It's too fresh. It's too fresh. We're still in August. It hasn't even been a
Yeah,
month.
what, 3 weeks? Yeah, three
Yeah,
weeks
right.
ago.
Jasmine's birthday is the end of the month. She's gonna turn 26.
It's
So that's pretty
crazy.
cool. I want to answer your question, but I also want to say one more thing really quick. So me and Jackson had this fucking awesome idea, man. Still haven't done it, so don't hold me to it. But if I say it here, I guess I got to do it. So thinking about like having kids, right? Like I was recently seeing my buddy Hen. You know, hopefully we can get Hen on the podcast eventually. He was that old neighbor down in Pensacola, and he's with his son and his new girlfriend, and like they would go out on photo shoots. And when I see that, man, it's like it's so cool to see like from a dad perspective, like documenting the journey. You know, me and Jackson have done, and not everybody's as open about running off to do photo shoots and stuff, but I feel like there's something super special there. So whenever me and Jackson have kids, we definitely from like a film standpoint, I would love to do like a mini video, like documentary type, you know what I mean? Like as a gift. But all that said, me and Jackson, I put it in my calendar for Tuesday or Thursday. We're gonna do a happy 25th birthday video for our kid when they turn 25. So before she turns 26, it'll be me and her at 25 saying happy birthday and like a mini video from like the young parents, you know? And I feel like as a 25-year-old now, if my dad pulled out a laptop and said, "Yo, watch this," and it's him and my mom, you know what I mean, that young, they couldn't have done that because it wasn't like that. But we can, our generation, like our generation could totally take advantage of like we could start a podcast to like dear future son, you know what I mean? Like talking about him when he's not even here or daughter, like it was just a really cool video idea, and I really hope we do it because she's gonna turn 26, and I gotta wait till we're 26 to both,
You got to do it. It'll
both
be
be the same.
super quick. You guys could pop that out real fast and just talk about, I don't know, general parenting stuff and maybe apologize in advance if be like, hey, we didn't mean to mess up all those times,
Oh,
make
right,
sure
right.
that you paint
Like
the
a
picture.
future. That's
But
a good
remember,
point.
it's gonna be like a hologram in the future. You're gonna
Oh,
be
right, right, right.
outdated,
Some
right?
Star
It's
Wars
yeah,
shit.
I know. It's gonna be so outdated. They're gonna be like, you have to bring out your laptop. Like we just have this on our watch now, and they're
Yeah,
like, beep,
watch.
beep, boop, boop, boop. Yeah,
Click.
I know. Yeah, the Google
How funny.
Glass or whatever they have now.
Very true. Very true. But I don't know. It was just like a fun idea. And what's funny too is I was like, we can't do. What if we have more than one kid? Like, is this gonna be a general video? Like, are we gonna do like two versions if it's a boy, if it's a girl?
Well, you know what
Like,
they say, the twins are likely to have twins too. So you're
well, it
plagued in that
skips.
way.
It
Oh,
skips.
oh, oh, my fault. My
Yeah,
fault.
it
I
skips. It
should have done
skips.
more Punnett squares when I was in high school. My fault.
I don't even understand what that meant.
You know what a Punnett square is, man. I promise.
What the fuck is that?
You did it in like biology. So there's a square and it's like a capital letter and a lowercase letter and another capital letter and a lowercase letter. And then you're like combining genes. And then There's like
Oh, dude, see, you're too
dominant
fucking smart for me,
genes
bro. I
and
don't know what
recessive
you're talking,
genes. I promise you would know. I
bro.
promise if you saw it. Or you
All
were
I know
just
is the
skipping.
mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
That's it.
That's all we got. I was just telling Jasmine, I felt like a fucking dumbass in school, bro. I remember we played this game in chemistry where like everybody lined up in the middle, and then the teacher held up the card, and then whoever the faster one was, they would say it and they would get a point or some shit. And I was just like embarrassed, bro. Every time I put up, some bitch is gonna say that shit before me.
So coming back to you talking about you feeling dumb in school, I think that's a really interesting point. So I don't know if Albert Einstein said it, one of those real smart guys said it, and they said if you judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree, you're always going to be dumb. And it was, or something of that effect. It was basically
Hmm.
like saying you put a fish in the water and it's going to swim around, and it's going to excel in that environment. But if you take the fish out of the water and you expect it to climb a tree, it's not going to be effective. So I think that taking the lens of not calling somebody stupid for X, Y, or Z in school is something that is really undervalued, underappreciated. I know plenty of people that are incredibly street smart or whatever the case may be that didn't do well in school, whether they weren't motivated, whether they weren't doing a subject, whether they were too focused on sports, or whether they, the school valued mathematics and they were good at reading or music. And I
Right.
think that college kind of takes that and allows you to go into a quote unquote major that allows you to be more specialized in something that hopefully you're interested in. But I think the core curriculum of a lot of schools really starts to pin you into a corner if you're not a science, technology, engineering, mathematics, or STEM person, or you're not an English person, or, because you only get one PE class, you only get one music class, you only get one art class at a lot of places. So the value that they place on these things is on something that, you can't expect somebody who's has autism or has another type of deficiency, learning deficiency or whatever, to excel in things that everybody else are going to be good at. But you know what? They might be able to take apart a car and then put it completely back together after cleaning every component. So I think that you painting that, I just wanted to touch on that fact of like, don't think that just because you didn't excel in school because someone else could raise their hand faster and know the question faster, that makes them more intelligent than you, because they're just doing that in the space that they're best at. They're the professional basketball player that's playing pickup. They're not the professional basketball player that's going to a swim meet. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
There you go, preaching over here. All right, I see you.
That's all I want to talk about. But go ahead. I want to get back to you talking about keeping an open mind, whether you had um an example of when you kept an open mind, or a way that you think that you could, take that thought and maybe apply it to your relationship or your work or XYZ. I didn't know if you had anything that you wanted to touch on. And if not, we can just go to the next topic that I think's interesting too.
For sure. It's funny. The first thing that comes to mind was it was kind of like being called out, it was kind of a diss, but like not on purpose. I remember a friend that I don't talk to anymore. We kind of fell off, but her name was Isabella. And I remember one time kind of talking shit during the phase of me trying to like win over my in-laws, during the time that they didn't like accept me and blah blah blah. And when I say talk shit, you know what I mean? Even if it's the truth and it sounds like, negative, people just say it's talking shit. But I don't know. It was like I was talking about how I struggled with my relationship with my father-in-law. Just like there was such a disconnect, I felt like he didn't fuck with me and stuff. And what I would say was, it's like, yeah, when I'm up there, it's like they have nothing to talk about. I would just say that. I would say like they have nothing to talk about. I'm the easiest person to talk to. All you gotta do, I could talk your ear off, blah blah. I said all this shit, and she kind of just checked me. She's like, just because they don't have anything to say doesn't mean you shouldn't still spend time with them. You know, and it was like keeping an open mind to like I was equating quality time with communication. Like I couldn't process the idea of like just spending time up there. Like sometimes even now, I spend a lot of time down here. I don't spend too much time with the family upstairs. And Josh is like, just come up, just be up there. It's like I'm like, how come they don't eat food at the dinner table? The TV's always on. Nobody hasn't like I was getting caught up in all this stuff, for like that's the whole thing about like receiving love and like understanding how other people receive love, right? It's like it's not that they didn't want to have a relationship with me. That's all I heard. Their silence was like, I have nothing, I don't want to ask you anything, blah blah blah. But it's like having an open mind to like, that's not what it is at all. And I can't hold them to this standard of the only way that I know that you appreciate me or you like me is if you talk to me. It's like that's not necessarily true. you know all I got to do is buy food and coffee to my father-in-law, dude, listen to his jokes. Like, our relationship has been way better. And it's like, I'm not trying to single him out on the lanai, some one-on-one time. It's like just keeping an open mind to, I don't know, even just being wrong. You know what I mean? Talk about that. That's a whole episode. Is like being okay with being wrong, or like admitting fault. We talked about that a little bit with your situation with the gym, but uh just having an open mind to critique, I guess, is super super important, because if you're shut off, then you wouldn't be willing to make sure that the room was clean before Chelsea came, right? Like, you wouldn't have done that, right? Like, if you didn't have an open mind to like changing what you do for somebody else, like, that's not good.
Right. And I actually, it's funny that you say the thing about your family upstairs. I think in my relationship with Chelsea, I've had a similar thing where her family and I'll be around, and I'm not, talking shit about her family because they've been really great to me. But I also have that thing where I equate the time and quality time as like everybody is sitting around together. You're getting to know me. I'm getting to know you. I'm able to, dig into like what really makes you tick. And you're also asking the same things of me. And it's very interesting that to this point, I have like tried and tried and tried to get more and more information about her family in that way. And I feel as though they answer with like a very to the point, but not, I guess, deep answer
Yeah,
as
it's
they
not
could
inviting.
go.
It's not inviting
Correct. And it's
conversation.
not. And then there's no take. There's no like give back. There's no, I ask a question and then I'm kind of waiting, because in my upbringing it's been like I ask a question and then you ask a question. It's kind of like we're
Right,
playing, we're on a teeter totter, right?
right.
But I never got asked a question back. So I'm sitting there and I'm just like, what the hell? Like, I'm the new
Yeah,
guy.
this is
Like,
an interview.
you guys all know each other, but I don't know any of you. You guys don't know any of me, but I don't know how. And I guess maybe I can take a point from you to disconnect the two things of like, we're spending time together, but we're not getting to know each other, but this matters to you. So I am going to be there, so I think
Right.
that we can even talk about it more another time, not on the podcast, but I think that's something that I could probably
Yeah.
do better. I
We'll
could
keep some
probably do
private.
better. Yeah, I know.
Right.
Jeez
We'll
Louise.
keep.
I might need to have you do a specific episode just for me on that, maybe just
That's funny.
talking through yourself. But it's really interesting that you say that, and that somebody else checked you in that way and was just like, hey man, just be there. Like, being there might just be the exactly what you need. And then maybe you get to that point, maybe you don't, but either way, you are showing that you care by being around. And that's something that I could definitely take a play out of your playbook for sure.
Well, it's funny. We also didn't want to talk about too many of the principles, you know, like we didn't want to give them away. But
We're
one
gonna
of
do an
them,
episode on all of them anyway, so
yeah,
it's
remember,
eventually coming out. We just have the callbacks, more
it's just
callbacks.
one of them was there's two of these and one of those, right? That's what my grandpa, right? Is that like I wanted so bad for so many years to connect with him and to talk, and he was just so soft spoken, you know. And then the one time I just shut the fuck up and sit there with him, he starts talking. I'm like, yo, what the heck? Like, what I had to say didn't matter, and just ego aside, that's okay, you know. Like I again, I don't want to get too into it, but yeah, like I would just talk about shit that a 20-year-old's venting about. What the fuck does my grandpa want to hear that shit for? Like, no, no offense to him, no offense to me. That's knowing your audience, right? We say that too. That's another huge one. Protect yourself from unwanted hurt by like understanding who you're around. If you go into that setting the next time understanding that, maybe you don't walk away feeling hurt because they didn't reciprocate. It's just operating on a different level.
Right. Having a different expectation. So here's another one. So again, that same podcast, I'm going back to Malcolm Gladwell and Dax Shepard talking about it on I'm Sure Expert. They talk about the concept of rich feedback. And I thought this was super interesting. So they refer back to, say, you're 16 years old in high school in 1980, and you're walking in and you're like, oh, I need a prom date, or I want to ask this girl out. And you walk straight up to her, you're, rehearsing your lines, you're doing whatever in your head. You looked in the mirror and you did it before you went to school, however you decided to do it. Right. And then you walk up to her and you're like, hey, I really want to take you to prom, or hey, I really want to take you out. And she just looks at you and she's just like, no. And then you feel that you're there, you're present, you're feeling the emotional hurt, you're getting and receiving what I like to call like rich feedback. You're feeling it, you're seeing it, you're hearing it, you're getting body language, you're getting all these things, all these social cues. Somebody might even be laughing next to you. You might even have some sort of like embarrassment that occurs, or whatever the case may be, but you're receiving what I like to call like really rich, or what they like to call really rich feedback. Sorry, I can't take credit for this.
Yeah, you said we. I was like,
I
damn,
know.
okay, I
I
see
know.
you.
No, no, no. I just want to be a
We.
conduit of information.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
I'm on board now though, for sure.
it's flowing.
That's right. That's right. So they called that rich feedback. And then now they say that with the evolution of technology, that we're in a place where we don't receive that rich feedback anymore. So what I'll say is, like, we'll talk about like Tinder or one of the other dating apps, for example. Like, you're on there and you're trying to, whether you're trying to hook up, whether you're trying to find love, whether you're trying to get married, or whatever the case may be, whatever your goal is, you're not receiving any amount of rich feedback from getting a swipe right, and then talk to somebody, or starting to talk to somebody in a virtual platform. So you're not getting the nerves before you like go up and talk to them, because you have nothing to lose. You aren't going to get a
Interesting.
real reaction from somebody unless you're on a video call, or you're meeting up to talk to the first time. You're not going to get those weird butterfly feelings. You're not going to be able to get somebody's vibe or their energy that they're putting off. You're in a space where you're receiving really, really dull or really poor feedback from somebody, where you're not able to kind of take in the environment, understand what's going on, and then apply it. And I think Malcolm Gladwell and Dax really talked about getting your ass kicked, I think, was the thing that they talked about. It's like, when you used to like be a douche to somebody, they would just whip your ass. And if anybody, like myself included, got in a fight when you were younger and you got your ass kicked, it's not very fun. Other
Right.
people are laughing, other people
That's
are
rich feedback.
watching, whatever it is. And now it gets recorded. So even now it's probably even worse. But you know what that is? That's super rich feedback. That's, hey, you probably shouldn't have thought that, dude. You start thinking about, are you guilty about what you did? Should you have even fought in the first place? Could you have talked it out? Or you're like me and you're just like fuming and pissed because you got your ass kicked and you want to go down for round two because you got too much pride or ego or whatever the case may be, right? But at least you're receiving that emotional, holistic view of like what's going on. And I think that
Interesting.
nowadays it's interesting because they connected it to like our kids and people in general not receiving that. And does that create an environment where people are like cyber bullies because they're not getting their ass kicked, or they're, serial daters, or the Tinder swindler starts to come alive because he starts to, steal money from these people and doesn't really care about them because he meets them online and just takes advantage of them. So I thought it was really interesting, just the whole concept of rich feedback and kind of relating it to fights or asking a girl out or etc., and thought you definitely will have something that you're
No,
thinking
that
of
was
over there.
honestly, that
Yeah.
was fascinating. Where my mind took me was from a creative standpoint, like me putting, people who put their art out there, right? Like, we don't get rich feedback using, again, the same terms that you've described. In that, if I put a video together and 124 people watch it, or 124 people like it, like, relative to what other things could have been, where 6,000 people viewed it and it was doing really well, it's like there is no real gauge, right? Numbers will never be enough. That little like endorphin rush of like, hey, people liked this. How intimidating would I've talked to my sister-in-law, actually. I talked to Jade about this. She has shout out Jade. Any girls that listen to this, she has Maui Made by Jade earrings. She does clay earrings. And just talking to her about, like, her doing reels on Instagram, her doing stuff. And like, it's amazing to think like, how fucking overwhelming would it be if 126 people were in my crib right now? You know what I mean? Like, if 126 people were here and said, yo, I liked that. That was dope. Like, that was sick. Like, how incredible would I feel? You know what I mean? Like, think about that, like 126 people shake your hand at a ceremony. You'd be like, damn, bro, I'm making waves, like people like me, whatever. But like, from like an artistic standpoint, like the demand is so high, we all like are insecure of like other people's, like how good they are, how good their videos versus mine. And I feel like, the wave now, even watching kids, like kids are jumping on platforms really early, documenting stuff. You see kids recording stuff. So like for me, it wasn't until I was way older that I started. But I mean, it's younger and younger now, and I think that's not rich feedback. You know, is that like being confident in your work? You know, like I guess the real people are still out there, you know, doing art galleries and art shows and like having people walk up and shake their hand and take a photo with them. Like that's real, you know. Me selling clothes online, right? Fight or flight, me doing that, getting $4 grand revenue, all these ding, 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 ding sales, they're just going in a bag and going out the door, you know, like it's the disconnect.
I totally agree. I think that it's really interesting, especially in the creative space. You talk about it too. You know, everyone looks at whatever, how many Instagram followers somebody has, or everybody looks at a, you know, artist plays on a song that they create or something like that. And it's interesting that you say, is that play or is that like, what is that worth to you? And I bet if we brought somebody on the podcast, who knows if that ever does happen, that has hundreds of thousands of Instagram followers, I'm sure they'll say the same thing. Like,
Right. It's yeah, numbers,
it's not
numbers,
gonna
right?
make you, it's only gonna make you feel so good,
Yeah.
right? Like,
It's a
I
numbers
think
game.
at this point, a lot of those people are probably like, I wish I had 10 followers. I bet they're like, I wish I could totally start over and nobody knew who I was when I was out, because
Yeah.
those people start to get inundated with even negativity. Like,
Yeah.
I
Cost of
listen,
fame, dude.
exactly. I listened to another guy. His name's Jeremy Scott, and he's a fitness professional that lives down in Scottsdale. Shout out to him. If he ever listens to this, that'd be pretty crazy. He talks about a lot of different things. And in that space, he talks about, you know, when he first started his gym and he was at a park out, you know, he's connecting with the local community. He's doing that. And then he starts to build into his first space where he rented. And then he bought his new space. And now he's all over online, you know, doing shirtless videos and blah 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 and doing all these things so that he gets clicks and revenue from all those things. But that's not the type of guy he is. He's the type of guy that really wants to focus on a communal, you know, helping people grow, helping people develop into their personal, financial, and fitness goals, like holistically. And it's interesting that he talks about, you know, the more people follow him, the more negativity he sees in the comments. He'll be like, oh, he'll post a shirtless photo or video about him like doing deadlifts or whatever. And they'll scroll down to the comments and someone will be like, what a douche for, you know, posting this photo without a shirt on. And he's like, yeah, but the thing is at the end of the day, he would never work out like that outside of the fact that he has to do the video so that he gets clicks, he gets revenue.
Oh
He's
shit.
able to have the most people see it that can, and then affect the lives at that point. So that it's basically like what he does is he uses the shirtless video to get you in the door. And then after that, you're going to start listening to the podcast. You're going to start looking at the workouts. You're going to start to see a shift in the fact that, you know, first that you just thought, hey, what a douche with a, you know, with a camera, who,
Mm-hmm.
by the way, is jacked. He's like super, super fit. And then now you're like, oh, wow, like maybe I should start taking Athletic Greens because that's a big sponsor for his. Or you're like, maybe I should start to promote fitness in the day. Maybe I should go out and get 10,000 steps in a day because that's what he's deemed as something that you could try and do. Or maybe I should do online coaching with him. So it's interesting to me that those things like get you in the door with the poor feedback, and then
Mm-hmm.
almost you can get to the rich feedback through even social media, in that space too. And who knows, like I said, we had 122 or 100 and
Mm-hmm.
whatever plays, and those people are probably the people, who knows if they end up listening to the second or third episode. But I'm hoping that they take something, whether it's good, bad, or ugly, from it, and then can apply it in their life and have some sort of rich experience, excuse me, from it. So who knows?
I read a book called Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, and it's about a mortician. The funeral industry now, like we don't understand death anymore. That's what she's getting at, is that there is such a disconnect from people being here and then not being here. You know, people die, it's over, right? Like some people mourn, some people it's like really hard. But she was saying that what happens is I could drop dead on the floor. Josh could come home. She could call 911, right? Somebody could come pick my body up, take me away. Okay. If she wants, the funeral home can go to the hospital, pick me up, go to the funeral home. They could cremate me, and then she could pay everything online, and then they could ship the ashes. And it was just crazy that she was saying that when people as a family would come to the funeral home and go to like the incinerator, like she literally said there was power in like pushing the button. like letting a family member push the button that just knows that they're gone, right? Like there's like an actual understanding of like, this is over, like this is what their body is now, blah blah blah. But it was just the craziest thing to read, that just the idea of like, imagine Civil War, bro. Imagine me and you going to find dad on the battlefield, bro. After he's been sitting there for a long time. Like the idea of like really understanding that like they're gone, and like we're so protected. We don't have to look at death. We don't have to see it. They can put all that stuff in there, embalm you, make you look good. Like there is no like real understanding of like what's next. Especially if you do like open caskets and stuff like that. Like your body will literally deteriorate. But not to get too morbid. I just kind of wanted to say that the disconnect, right, is that we aren't living in real life as much as we should anymore, and I think it's only going to get worse. Ready Player One is fucking around the corner, bro.
That's right. We're in a simulation. We're in the metaverse, dude.
We're in the
Look
fucking
at what we're
Matrix,
doing right
dog.
now. Look what we're doing
Right?
right now. We're talking on a Zoom call. That's probably because you live so far away, really. But
Right. I mean,
that's
it
I
is what
mean,
it is.
yeah. But how wild is that? And you can even tailor that to like the Amazon thing. Like, why does Amazon like rule the world? Because they can ship something to your house when you order it at 10 a.m. and it'll be there by 2. If
Right.
you're living near a distributed
Not in fucking Hawaii,
factory,
bro, but yeah.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
but if you live near a factory, they're bringing stuff to you by a drone. They have like drones that'll come over and drop stuff off to like apartments in the
Yeah.
cities. It's like, how does it get more like accessible than that? Have they made it so easy that people just will sit and Uber Eats? You're not interacting with wait staff. I wonder, it'll be interesting to see like the years like moving forward, if when people go out to eat, if they start to treat wait staff worse, because then
Hmm.
you don't have that interaction when you're going out every single day or every like once a week or whatever, and you're going to a diner and you get to like meet a waiter, you get to build a relationship with them, or you're just having normal interaction. But imagine like you're not doing that for forever, and then you go out and then the food isn't cooked like perfectly the way you like it or whatever, and you have this big expectation and then you treat them like shit. I feel like an industry that could suffer is like service industry, and just cutting
Right.
off of jobs too. It's crazy. You have anything else you want to hit on before we kind of sign
Well,
off?
I did put my phone. Maybe I'll just cover one thing. Oh, I got an embarrassing story we'll close with. Oh, you know
Oh,
what? How about
I
I
have one
wait?
too. I have an embarrassing
Wait,
story
should we
too.
wait until next episode then? This is
Oh
the
man,
cliffhanger
I'm
part.
so bummed that I didn't get to put this one out there because it
All right,
is
you go
so
for it.
fucking
I-
funny.
I'll I'll do my disclaimer at the end. So you go first, and then we'll save the next one.
Okay, so I'll do my embarrassing story
Yeah,
first, and
yeah.
then you'll start with an embarrassing story. We'll just like be in a
And
daisy
then
chain.
cliffhanger. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I know I talked about I went down to Dallas this past week, right? So I am looking online and I have the like Hilton app that basically will let you reserve a room. So I'm looking at the rooms and I know that the hotel I stayed at had like a super nice gym there. And I was like, hey, I want to have a room that's close to that so I can go work out in the morning and then I'll go into the simulator in the afternoon. So I'm looking, and I see the closest room to the gym is a handicap accessible room. So I'm like, oh, sweet. I'm like thinking to myself, like, first off, like usually those are super big bathrooms, large hallways. There'll be a nice bed, all these things I'm thinking about, like, oh, hell yeah. Like, does it get any better than the handicap stall and the shitter? Like, absolutely not. Right. So you can laugh, that shit's true. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's
So
funny.
I get there and I'm like looking in the room, super sweet. So the next day I wake up, I go to the gym, I come back and I'm about to hop in the shower, but it's got one of those shower heads that it's got like the long neck and kind of is like mounted so that you can like pull it off almost like
Right.
some people's kitchen sinks, and you can kind of like spray it around. It might help for people to watch the video on this one because I'm going to get a little
Right.
animated. So spraying, whatever. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I'll start the shower up. So the shower head's mounted up and I'm standing outside the shower to paint the picture. And I like hit the valve to start the water flow. And the shower head that was mounted and was like going to go into the shower literally just like automatically like shifts over and is spraying the fuck out of me. It's like blasting
In
me
the
as I
face.
stand there, in the face, in the chest, like all over, right? So then I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm like trying to like go down and like reach down. I'm like trying to block the water. And
Right.
first off, this hotel had unbelievable water pressure. So shout out Hilton Anatole in Dallas. I don't know how you guys do it, but those pumps must be
You
working
got a
overtime.
fire
I
hydrant in the
swear to
face.
God, they were ridiculous. So I'm like trying to like stop the water flow as I'm trying to hit the valve. Needless to say, I hit the whole apparatus down. And now the shower
You
head
broke the
is in the
ADA room.
base. No. Listen, I didn't break the handicap room. Chill. The whole shower head is on the base now, but it has so much pressure and it's laying flat that it's shooting onto the ceiling. So this
Just
water
a
is now
consistent
like it's like a
pressure.
wild hose, man. I swear to God, the hose is like just doing this and
Oh
it's
my
spraying all
gosh.
over the bathroom. Eventually, I get my hand on the valve and I stop the water, right? And I take a second and I look at the ceiling, and the ceiling is wet all the
That's
way
like the
from in the
longest
shower.
15
Oh
seconds.
my gosh, it felt like forever. And it's the ceiling is wet from where I'm standing all the way over to like where the sink is, which is a good 10 feet away. So
Well,
the
is that like
whole
the flower or flowers? What the hell? The floor, the shower floor? Like
the
it's not like a
no. So the shower, I had to like wipe it up because it didn't have like a central drain in it. So there's water
yeah, right in the middle of the room, right?
everywhere. Yeah. There's not
yeah,
one in there.
yeah.
There's
The
water
drain's in the
everywhere.
middle
Yeah,
of an
yeah. No,
ADA
no,
room,
no.
but
It's not. It's not. It was just in the shower
oh,
where all the water should have been contained. So all that to say, I like once I stopped it, I just sat there and I laughed. Like I legit like laughed out loud. I was like, this is fucking hilarious. Like had this would totally happen, you know? And then the next day when I got in that shower, I was like, look, I fucking know your tricks, bitch. I like looked at the shower head and I literally was talking to it. And I was like, I'm gonna
possessed.
hold that ass. I like put one hand out and I'm like, I got you now. And I
That's
just cranked it on.
hilarious, bro.
But yeah, I just wanted to paint the picture of me wrestling with a shower hose for like,
That's
you
what's
know, a
up.
good 20 or 30 seconds to make sure that everyone else gets a good laugh out of their day today.
Right. You know, I'll say mine just because it's not good enough to just be its own. So we talked about being discriminated against, right?
Yeah.
Being in Hawaii, right? Being a white guy. So recently, there's this dog down the street that like is totally not being taken care of. It is always itching so bad to the point where it can't sit down. It still has his balls, so like he's this horny, like itchy, like miserable life that he's living. He could get hit by a car all the time. Like I want to steal this dog. I really want to keep him. He doesn't have a collar. Like the people don't take care of him. He looks skinny. Like I'm just not gonna be that guy that steals the neighbor's dog. So it's not gonna happen. But I'm emotionally attached. And I finally got to the point where I dead ass wrote on a sticky note. I said, "This is the third time your dog's come to my house. I would love to adopt him. Please let me know if I can." And I put my phone number. Okay. I tied it with string, tied it on. He has like a harness. He doesn't have a collar. I tied it on there and took him home. And I was like, dude, what if I fucked up? I should have used Jasmine's 808 number, not my 818. I'm like, what if I just prevented myself from having this dog because I put my phone number? Okay. That's its own story. Okay. I go on Craigslist and I want to buy a chair. There's this tufted chair that I wanted for the office that I've been waiting for months. It was supposed to be shipped to like Miami. I was willing to pay like $1,700 because it was a 72-inch like black on black throne, like Victorian era. I would spend all this money just for like my office. Well, it didn't make it on the boat, so I got screwed over. But regardless, I went on Craigslist. I was like looking up tufted chair and I found one. Well, I messaged them that night. It was $400. It's sitting right over here, but it was just saying, "Hey, text me if you're interested." I texted them that night immediately, and they didn't respond. So the next day, I keep checking my phone because the Craigslist ad's still up, and I'm like, I really want this chair. And I text Jasmine. Jasmine's at work. I said, "Hey, Jasmine, can we try something?" I said, "Can you text this number? Don't copy and paste what I did. Say something different, saying, 'Hey, is this chair available?'" They answer her immediately. The second she sends it, they hit her back, and I got so pissed. I was like, man, what the fuck? Like, why is this gonna be a thing? Like, all woe is me, like, is this what it's gonna be like forever? Do I gotta get rid of my license plate, my ID, and my 818 number to like at least have a little easier? Fuck the tan, I'm staying white. But like it's it's so frustrating, right? Well, this is the kicker. I was like, I'm gonna be petty as fuck. I feel like I'm gonna paint like a bad picture. People are not gonna like me, dude. They're gonna think I'm this punk. I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? As soon as we go and pick it up, we bought it. We got it. I said, I'm going to text them on my number sitting in the chair saying, thanks for the chair. Like, as like, fuck you, right? I'm super petty. I was so frustrated. We go to the place and we're like looking for the house. We go upstairs. It's a white lady, bro. it was it was this white lady, and I was like looking at Jared, looking at Josh, and all embarrassed, and like, see, why you gotta make this shit up, man? It's not even like that. And then the kicker was the next day, I get a text saying, "Hey, sorry, I didn't see this. The chair's already sold." I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, what a great talking about keeping an open mind. Stop making it about me, you know? Like, why did I like create this narrative, create this whole story of like some local dude over there, like, fuck you, you can't have my chair. I want a local. Like, what am I doing, bro? Like,
Dude,
that was so embarrassing. And I
it's
had
so
to share
funny.
it.
We can, that actually is a great segue. We could even talk tomorrow or whenever our next podcast episode gets recorded. We could talk about some of the 4 agreements topics, which I had written
Right.
down,
Right. That's good.
which would be really, really good to touch on. Maybe we do one at a time, or maybe we can even hit all 4 of them in one episode. But that is another book that we both have read that we can definitely key in on. But I think it'd be really interesting to kind of bring that topic back up for that. Yeah, you
Assuming? Right.
Yeah.
Well, that was it. I was very embarrassed. And again, that's like, don't make shit up in your head, like, just play it cool. That was like very embarrassing to think that I wasted a lot of energy feeling some type of way for no fucking reason,
Oh man, that's
Gosh,
funny.
I'm gonna get busted just for being transparent. It's
No,
embarrassing.
no, I love being real, man. I love that you're being real. Well, I appreciate it. I feel like
Hell
it was
yeah.
good. Well, until next time.
If maybe I don't know what episode we're gonna do the 4 agreements, but I just picked up this book, Cry Like a Man, and you talked about Brene Brown's book. I'm gonna spend some time this next week reading this and see if there's anything like that I can bring to the table for next episode.
Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna continue. I'm almost done with hers, and then maybe I'll pick up the same one, and then we'll kind of see if we pull different stuff out of it and kind of read the same thing.
Hell yeah! And let me check my notes one more time to see if there is. Oh my gosh! I'll next episode. I haven't talked about my kidney stones, bro.
Oh my gosh! Yes,
I haven't mentioned any of that.
All right, we'll pin that
next time.
I almost gotta write it down. I almost gotta write down like.
How did I miss all of that, bro?
All right, man. Well.
All right. Well, much love, dude.
Yeah.
Appreciate the next episode down.
All right, bro. See ya.
All right.